if you've been following me for a little bit, you might know that I don't like the term fur baby. And if you've been following me for a while, you may have seen a video of me talking about this. You may have even seen me, when I hear it or when I say it, I have a hard time. I coil my face. I kind of cringe a little bit. I really don't like the term. Now, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that when it first started coming out, when people first started saying fur baby, I remember talking to my friend and I said, "Yeah, have you heard people calling dogs fur babies?" And she said, "Ooh, what would you call your human babies then?" And I'm like, "I don't know, skin babies." And I mean, ever since then, it just hits different. You know what I'm saying? But that aside, I think, if I may, I understand. Let me first say, I understand why people use the term. I mean, I get it. You love your dog so, so much that you can't even put words to it. Like you see their face and you want to squish their face and you love them so, so much that you're like, I can only describe it as the feeling of like it was my own child, right? And we know that dogs are part of the family. Now there's scientific proof too, right? There's scientific evidence that talks about the release of oxytocin that we get, the release of oxytocin that the dog gets when we're petting them. Like it's mutual, this love that we have, and science proves it. But I still struggle with the term. I still struggle with it. And while some people may think I struggle with it because I find it, insulting because I have my own kids and, maybe I'm insulted about that, but it's actually not that. It's actually the opposite. I truly believe that it's insulting to the dog. I mean, if we're being real, I look at dogs and I think like they're so perfect at just being dogs. Like I love them for who they are. Like everything that they give to us, that love and all of that stuff back, and they give that to us, and that's perfect. And I mean, okay, if we're being real, a lot of the things we love about our dogs is because we're not getting that from people. Like my husband does not get that excited when I get home. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Anyway, I digress. The other side of this, though, from if I can take off my, my dog lover's hat and I put on my training hat, the other side of this is as someone who has helped a lot of people fix their relationship with their dog, I can tell you that term, that my dog is like my baby, they're like my fur baby, you're defining your relationship in that way. And in a lot of cases, the dog itself is not able to fulfill your definition of your relationship. And I think that this is a topic I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about this. And I think that we should, because the way you define your relationship with your dog may be hindering your actual relationship with your dog. So if you want to know more about that, this is the podcast for you. Make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper ready, because I'm going to go over some different relationship styles and we're going to talk about it. And what does it mean for you? What does it mean for your dog? Is it helping or hindering? Let's find out. Are you worried that your fearful dog may hurt someone or something else? Do you have to prepare just to take a walk around the block? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I too had that dog. The one that you could only walk at nighttime when no one else was around. And I felt ashamed, and oh gosh, I wish that people could just see the dog that I know and love. I wanted the confidence to be able to walk my dog and not have to worry about who or what was around the corner. And I kept telling myself that if I just keep doing obedience drills and distracting with treats, that things would get better. Until I found the secret. Fear is not something that you can train out of a dog. In this podcast, you will find tips to help build your dog's confidence naturally, communication and understanding to foster that trust, and how to address those fear-based behaviors effectively so that you can enjoy a stress-free life with your dog. So if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners, grab your notebook, and let's get to it. Hello, 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 my friend. It's Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience. I'm really glad you're here. I wanted to introduce myself. It's Tracy, fur baby mom of 8 and skin baby mom of 3. But I can't even with it. I swear, ever since that came up in my conversation with my friend, that's all I can think about. Skin babies and fur babies. I know it hits different now, doesn't it? Did I ruin it for you? I might have ruined it for you as well. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. All right. Let's jump into this topic. I really do love this topic. And as I mentioned, I don't think anybody's talking about it, and we should be. The reason why we should be is because if you follow any handful of dog trainers, I think on either side of the equation, if you missed the last episode, I was talking about, the dog training industry being really broken. And it is really broken. But no matter what side, if you pick some advice from either side, at some point in time, they're going to tell you to do this thing because it is going to better your relationship with the dog. Or don't do this thing. It's wrecking your relationship with the dog. And we talk a lot. I hear a lot about people about relationship, but nobody's actually defining what is your relationship with your dog, right? How can you tell me that technique is going to fix my relationship with my dog when you don't even know what my relationship with my dog is? Because there's lots of different relationships out there. And until we actually start to define it, until we actually start to clarify that in our mind, like, what is my relationship with my dog? And then today, we're going to take that one step further and we're going to discern a little bit more on that to make sure that it's actually a good fit for both you and your dog. Because I will say, lots of times when I've gone into people's homes or I've been coaching people online and I sort of look at their relationship and we break it down, there are a lot of dogs that cannot fill that relationship goal that you have. And it's not because they're not good dogs. It's just because it's not in their genetic makeup. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So let's back this up a little bit. Let's get started. I hope you have your pen and your paper ready because I do want you to write some of this down. I don't want you to just be like, I think it's that, and then just pick it. I want you to actually really think about this. I want you to take some time and really go over this. And if I don't tell, like if the relationship styles I list here aren't yours, put yours. Let me know, because this isn't exhaustive. I'm sure that there's other types, but when I was sitting down thinking about this was the list that I came up with for the different relationship types that we might see with dogs and people. So as I've mentioned, the first one being the parent-child relationship, the fur baby pet-parent relationship. Because this term is used a lot, either fur baby or pet parent, I will say there's probably a good majority of people are going to probably think this is the relationship they want. Like they're going to be like, that's me, right? But that is marketing. I just want to put that out there. All of those phrases, pet parent, and fur baby and all of that stuff, that's marketing. That's that they don't get to decide for you what your relationship is. Okay, let's put that out there. So parent-child, that's one relationship style. Here's another one, partners. Equal partners, just partners. This is my partner. He's my equal or she's my equal. This is my partner. That's an actual relationship style. Here's one. It's a good one. I'm not saying it's a good one as in it's a better than other option. I'm just saying this is one I will hear a lot. Employer, employee. So we'll hear this from the training styles of your dog has to work for a paycheck. Have you ever heard that? Again, this isn't a criticism on the training style. I'm just telling you, if you are subscribing to that kind of training methodology where your dog needs to work for everything, you've heard this, right? These are the trainers that are like, don't feed your dog out of a bowl. You put their food in your treat pouch and you make them work for their food. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you this is a style. Okay. I would put that as an employer-employee relationship, right? They're working for their food. Here's another one, guardian slash protector. Okay. And this can go both ways. I will say this can go both ways. Some people might get a dog to be a guardian or a protector, either of themselves, their property, or their flock. Or you become the guardian protector if you are like me and have an innately unconfident dog or a fearful dog. You might take that role as guardian protector. And I should point out, before I go on, I should point out that your relationship can change. It can change through the seasons of your dog's life. It can change based on, where they are when you get them versus like them coming through something, as in for us fearful dog owners, we might start off as a guardian protector and then we'll move on to something else once our dogs start to build confidence in us and in themselves, right? So this isn't like if you pick one today, it doesn't mean you're stuck with it and this is what you're going to have forever. In fact, it's very fluid and it can change. And I should also point out, you might have one or two different styles, but you're gonna resonate with probably one primary style. Okay. Coach athlete. That's a great one. I see that a lot for I kind of smile when I think of it, but I see that for the actual true athletes, your working dogs, right? The ones that are doing agility or barn hunt or dock diving, like you are, or pulling sleds, like sled dogs, like all of that stuff. You're actually a coach and they're the athlete, and your relationship is such where you're thinking of them as the athlete that they are. Teacher student, that is 100% could be a relationship style. Maybe you're someone that really loves to teach your dogs new things. Maybe you have a dog that loves to learn tricks and all sorts of different things. That could 100% be you and your dog. Pack leader, pack member, that one's going to get a lot of, it's going to get a lot of criticism because people don't like the word pack. Whatever. I don't know. I say that, I kind of roll my eyes. I do say that because I think I have business cards out there that said pack leader, that I was a pack leader. And at the time I would have identified as a pack leader, 100%. I had 19 dogs. And if you caught me walking my dogs, I was walking anywhere between, 8 to 10 dogs at a time. I was definitely walking a pack of dogs, a group of dogs. So I would identify back then as a pack leader, pack member. I don't necessarily identify like that now, but that was how I would identify myself years ago. Caretaker dependent. Now, this is another one that can go both ways. So as I mentioned, your relationship style may change as your dog ages. Perhaps as your dog becomes older, you become more of a caretaker and they're the dependent. But also, let's talk about service dogs, right? That role can be reversed. Your dog could certainly be your caretaker and you the dependent upon that service dog. Friends. Here's another one, just friends or companions, right? I've heard people be like, my dog is my best friend. I say that about Nigel all the time. Like, you're my bestest friend. But you could totally be like, my dog is my best friend. I've had someone reply on social media once, told me that their dog was their soulmate. Whew, that's deep. Soulmate is deep. Like, even, and I'm not criticizing this. Please do not misunderstand me. I just, like, when they said it, I was like, wow, that's a strong bond and connection. And maybe that person, that dog have gone through it. I don't know, but that's like, that hits me like I feel that in my heart. Like, I feel it in my chest when they say it. I'm like, that's a deep one. Leader, follower, you can certainly, just decide you're going to just be a leader and your dog is the follower. That could be a thing. Although I would say that those roles also go back and forth depending on the situation. And here's another one: rescuer and rescuee. Rescuer and rescuee. Those are the, that is definitely a relationship style. For those that are working in rescue, perhaps they are hanging their hat on that definition because they know that the dog is going to be fostered out and they don't want to, there has to be a little bit of distance in that relationship. That could legitimate be an actual healthy relationship for those people. So so that's just some of them. I mean, if you have more, let me know. If you're like this, none of them really describe me, then write down what you think your relationship is. I will say, if you were to ask me now, as I mentioned before, I would say I was a pack leader and they were pack members because I had 19 dogs. That was a lot. That was a lot of dogs. And that's just kind of how I identified my relationship back then. I wouldn't necessarily do that now. I think now I identify as primarily partners and equal partners with, if you missed my last episode on leadership value lists, I highly recommend going back and listening to that. Because, you'll get a feel for sort of what, your value list and the things that you encompass as how you want to show up with your dog is definitely going to help shape how you define your relationship. But for me, if you remember, I said a lot of things like one of the words I liked was aligned, and like cooperation and respect. I identify my relationship with my dogs as partners because while I want that respect for me and my ability to guide you through Humansville, I also have mad respect for what they bring to the table in my relationship with them. I will tell you hands down, when I am in the woods with my dogs, walking my dogs, and there is a noise and all of my dogs like look the same direction, I take a step back. No joke. I take a step back and I let them be in front because I'm like, I can't see it yet, right? We all heard it. I can't see it yet. I know they can smell it, right? So where, dogs are like, nose first, humans are eyes first. And my eyesight in comparison to a dog's nose, not even close. Right? Not even close. Not to mention the things like in the woods, everything's camouflage. So if I'm in the woods with my dogs, there's a noise like a snapped branch or something, and all my dogs turn in the same direction. I will turn in that direction and then I'll take a step back. And I'm literally in that moment going, you guys take the lead right now because I can't see it. Like I can't see it. They'll figure it out. I can't see it. And generally speaking, I mean, thankfully, most times it's deer. Few times it's been those stupid, what do I call them, forest chickens, those freaking, what are they, grouse or whatever they are, that like they wait till you're walking right beside them and then they fly out at you. Like the amount of times, if you hear screaming in the woods, it's usually because of grouse. I startle the grouse and they shot out in front of my face and I'm like, oh, stupid forest chickens. Because when I scream like a girl, I lose my leadership points. That's what it comes down to. Anyway, I digress. Most times it's deer, if I'm being honest. Most time it's deer. So what happens is the deer freeze and then I freeze and I take a step back and I'm like, you guys tell me where that is because I don't. And usually one of the dogs will actually start to move towards it. And as they start to move towards it, the deer will go. I figure out it's deer late because, human eyes. And then I'll call the dogs back and be like, okay, it's fine, let them go, kind of a thing. But I 100% defer to them. That's my point. So when I talk about partnership with my dogs, I want them to respect me. I want them to respect that I have their back. If we are in Humansville, if we're in the city, I need you to defer to me because you do not understand traffic lights or cars, right? Like you're in my world right now. You're going to have to defer to me. But if I'm in the woods, now I'm in your world and I'm going to defer to you. Right. So I think that's partnership. So that's how I kind of define my overarching relationship with all of my dogs. But I have obviously been in the situation of caretaker dependent as my dogs have aged. I have mentioned this before. I am not great at that. That's one of the it's a relationship I struggle with. And that's a whole other episode. But um, I don't. I'm looking at all the other ones here. Equal partners is kind of where I'm at. I don't really do employer employee. I don't do that working for your food thing. I'm not saying, again, I'm not criticizing the training methodology. I'm just saying that's not the vibe that I want for my dogs. I've seen those working dogs working and they're brilliant and, like they have their relationship with their dog and it's a solid relationship. I'm not trying to say mine is better. I'm just saying it's not what I want for my dog. Okay. So that's how I would define. Now it's your turn. You get to define what it is where you sit. Now, if I have scared you into the idea that you can't have a parent-child relationship and now you're just afraid to use it, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to say you can have that relationship if it works for the dog, okay? Because the only way relationships work is if it works for both parties. We have to keep that in mind. We don't get to just decide like, oh, well, I'm going to parent the hell out of this dog because there's dogs out there that don't want to be parented, right? They just don't want it. So relationships only work when we're both in agreement. So let's talk about this a little bit. So after you've decided sort of, okay, I think this is the kind of relationship that I want or the one that I have, or it's how I've identified it in the past. The very next question I want you to ask yourself is, what does that mean to you? So what does the parent-child relationship mean to you? What does that actually mean to you? As I mentioned, for me, I've talked about the fact that, my dogs are partners. It means that I am going to ask you to defer to me when it's time to, but I'm also going to defer to you. I respect your talents over my talents. I have that equal partnership kind of a thing. But what does it mean to be a parent to the child? And you can define that however you want. You'd be like, well, Tracy, I believe that I'm a parent to it because I am a guardian over this dog. It's my responsibility to feed it, to walk it, to shelter it. I saying it, that sounds terrible, but you know what I mean. And that in my mind is a parenting role. Cool. Let's put that down. Write it down. Let's go with that. That's fine. So write down what that means to you. Okay. And then the next question, this one might be a little bit harder. What emotions come up for you with that definition? Now, oh gosh, we don't like talking about emotions very much, but I need you to in this moment, because if you've come up to the definition of your relationship from an emotional place, and that emotion came out of a place that maybe wasn't your best, then we need to identify it. What do I mean by this? A lot of times I will say that sometimes we get a dog for the wrong reasons. I'm just going to come out and say it. We get a dog for the wrong reasons. Because we are trying to fill a void. We're filling a void in our life. And when we've filled that void, we've defined our relationship as such. So, and I'm not even talking about like a void or a loss. I'm not even talking about, a death. I'm talking about something as simple as, empty nesters. Our children are grown, and, we've devoted our entire life to raising children, and then our children are grown. And now we have a dog that's come into our life. And now we have this dog is kind of filling this void of what is gone. And I want you to talk about to yourself. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to tell me personally, but I want you to think about what emotions are coming up. Are there some emotions coming up of loss or whatnot? Are you trying to fill a void? Because if that is the case, the next question is this a fair definition for the dog? Or put another way, can your dog actually fulfill this definition that you have created? And I will say, as someone who has worked with a lot of people that have, that are struggling with their dog, there are a lot of dogs trying to fill positions they cannot fill. And we need to be real about this. We need to, take a step back and go, okay, you know what? I might have been calling my dog my fur baby because my kids have grown, they've gone, they've left, they've left the house, and I really just want to nurture this dog. For certain dogs, they're going to be okay with that. If I'm being 100, I've seen them. I've seen the dogs that are like, they are cool with just, you carry them around, you dress them up, you put a bow on their head, and they're thinking it's their best life ever. There are some dogs, some breeds of dogs were born to just be companions to humans, and they thrive in that environment. But if you get yourself like a Malinois, it's not going to be fulfilled by being a fur baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to be. Same thing with, like, people will see like a Great Pyrenees and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I want like a white fluffy dog that I can just hug all the time. And just, well, if you're going to get yourself a livestock guardian breed and you don't have livestock, and you're asking them to fill a role or fill a void that they can't fulfill, you are both going to be unhappy, right? You're both going to be unhappy in this. So I really want you to take some time. If you want, I'll say those questions again for you to think about. What does it mean to you after you define the relationship? What does that mean to you? What emotions come up? So I want you to really think about how they make you feel, right? And then you're going to ask, is it a fair definition? And can your dog actually fulfill this definition? And if they can't, do we have to redefine it? Do we have to redefine it? And if so, then what are we going to redefine it as? Almost look at it like, okay, well, let's come up with another one, right? If I get myself a border collie because they were cute puppies or somebody didn't want it or whatnot, and I'm like, I just want this dog to fulfill this void in my life because I'm recently divorced and I got nothing better to do, but I want to just sit at home with my border collie. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So we're going to redefine it. Maybe that means I'm going to get out. I'm going to go try basic agility. I'm going to go to introductory to agility. I'm going to try some agility. That's stereotypical, but border collies love that stuff. I'm going to go there. I might meet some people there. I might find my people there. I'm going to change that relationship, that definition from, parent-child or, whatever I had it at, to coach-athlete. Let's become athletes. Let's see what that dog can be. I'm going to show up as your coach. I'm going to help you be the best version of that you can be. That's what I'm going to do for you. Right? I'm not necessarily saying you have to get rid of your dog. You might just have to redefine your relationship. And it's as simple as that. It sounds simple. It's simple on paper. Might be a little bit harder to do. And if you need some help with that, let me know. That's where you can certainly get some help with that by coming and hanging out with me. You can either hang out with me in the free Facebook group, Living Beyond Obedience. That's a good place for us to hang out. We're going to be talking about that probably there. There'll be some posts there asking about that, defining your relationship. But also, if you want the next level help with that, I want you to truly consider coming over and joining us in the student community. So check it out, beyondobedience.ca/fearless to get into the Fearful Dog Fearless Framework student community, because over there we're talking a lot about that. We meet once a month for Q&As. We're really going to help you define that. I know a lot of people have gone through the first module of this, defining your relationship, and it's opened some eyes, right? Like, it's like, okay, maybe I might not have been defining this the way that I should. And definitions matter. They matter. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this week's topics. These are the things that are really near and dear to my heart. These are the things that I know they're not talked about enough. But it's once we start to really get into this our leadership style, we come up with our value list. How do I want to show up for my dog? Who do I want to be for my dog? It makes everything else easier. So much easier when we know exactly how to show up for them. We know what they need for us. Everything else in your life gets easier. Promise you that. Does it take time? Absolutely, it does. But if you are in it to win it, if you're going to take the time it takes, so eventually it takes less time, I promise you it gets easier. That is my promise to you. Everything gets easier. So listen, if you liked this episode and Monday's episode, please take some time to share it with your dog loving friends. Be sure to leave me a review if you haven't already done so. It really does help push this podcast out to more and more dog lovers like you and me. And as always, get out there today and be the person your dog thinks you are. After you've done your homework, do your homework, then get out there and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area to help. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.